You're listening to Patch Job, the bi-weekly mini-series from True Home Confessions. We share one anonymous confession and patch it up with advice from real listeners and yours truly. One confession, a few fixes, that's the patch. Each week I pull a confession out of our email or voicemail, and you get my no-holds-barred take on what's really going on in your homes. From real estate regrets to neighbor drama to good old-fashioned fights with the people under your roof, we get into it. And since we love exploring whether friendly advice is actually good advice, I also hit you guys up for guidance. Your comments, your DMs, your unfiltered takes, they all make it into the mix. Now it's up to you to be the judge. So let's find out if this patch job is going to stick.
Hello. Okay, so I've been staying at my friend's place for about 6 months after a messy breakup. She has a spare room, and honestly, it's been great for me. But then out of nowhere, she handed me this formal 3-day notice thing to move out in writing, like I'm some sort of criminal or squatter or something. Then she changed all the passwords to the Wi-Fi and Netflix, which just feels really petty. I mean, okay. She's probably just overwhelmed. I get it. I've been there. And I have not been paying any rent yet. But I've been dealing with a lot. I was really depressed, couldn't find a job, and this was my place, my helping space for me to get back on my feet. And yeah, sure, I could have maybe pitched in more. She was in a really fragile spot, and I thought we were friends. Okay, so anyways, I was looking online to figure out this whole 3-day notice sitch, and it seems like I might actually have some tenant rights. That is, if I send her some money right now and just call it rent. And I still do have her Venmo from that one time we split a bar tab a while back. I just didn't think someone who called me a friend would kick me out when I was still healing.
Ooh, baby, this is a wild ride. If you're new here, Patch Job is a little different than our long format episodes. It's just you, me, and the True Home Confessions community listening to people's hidden selves and solving homegrown problems together. You know, after I got this voicemail, I popped over to our Instagram and I posted the confession, and ooh, you guys had a lot to say about this one. As with every patch job, I'm going to approach this call 3 ways. We're going to reflect, we're going to do a little repair, and we're going to bring it home with a solid relaunch. Now, obviously, alliteration isn't required for this format. Get it? Required? It's the 4th R? No? Yeah. Once I had reflect and repair, you know I couldn't just say, move on. We had to relaunch. Guys, I have standards. Okay. We're going to start with reflection. I feel like this is just a great time to consider your possible role in this situation, my friend. Now, you said you moved in after a messy breakup. You needed a place to land. And for a while, it worked. You had a roof over your head and a friend who was generous enough to offer you her spare room. She gave you her space, her quiet, and you were healing and you felt safe. And you settled in. Here's a message from someone who can relate.
I'm actually currently staying with a friend in LA. I got rid of my LA place recently, so I've just been staying with my best friend. And luckily, we have a really good relationship, and it's going really well. And it's actually been a really good bonding experience for us. So it doesn't sound like your situation, but sometimes I do wonder, like, oh, does she really want me here? Or is she just being nice? Or is there going to come a time when she's like, get out of my house? And I'm like, but to where?
I want to say none of us know exactly what you went through in that breakup. It might have been more than just heartbreak. Maybe it was super sudden, or Maybe it was traumatic or unsafe. And if that's the case, then yes, I want to say you needed a safe landing and some time. And maybe even like emergency support was what you needed. But needing help doesn't mean that someone else is obligated to carry you indefinitely. Pain is real, but it doesn't make your friend responsible for holding your life together, especially without her ongoing explicit agreement. You did mention that you weren't paying rent. That part felt clear. You were feeling fragile and broke. But I want to know, did you cook? Did you do the dishes? Maybe you walked the dog or cleaned a bathroom. And I don't mean your bathroom. I mean any bathroom. Hey, maybe you did some of that. Or you know what? Maybe you stocked the fridge a lot, or at least replaced that oat milk when you finished it. At 6 months, you are no longer a guest. You, my friend, are a huge potted plant that isn't doing her part. Maybe you weren't trying to freeload, but somewhere along the way, it sounds like you stopped noticing that this generosity was costing your friend something. I feel like most importantly, you should have been asking her, is this still working for you?
If we're looking backwards, if you wanted to be a good friend, you would have probably come to her with a plan after 2 weeks. 2 weeks is plenty of time for wallowing.
Living somewhere for free for 6 months is not a small gesture of friendship. With the cost of rent or a mortgage, not to mention utilities like maybe the additional water you're using for showers, this is significant. Mostly I think about the lack of privacy that your girlfriend had, having an extended house guest, having you around the house, on the sofa, at the dinner table every day. I'm actually wondering if, because this setup was working for you just fine, maybe you stayed silent. Maybe you didn't check in with her to see if it was still okay to stay there because, let's be honest, I think you didn't want to give her the option of telling you that she wanted her space back. Your friend had to feel some kind of way to go online and figure out what a formal 3-day notice is and to present it to you like you were never leaving. And you felt blindsided? She changed the Wi-Fi and the Netflix passwords. That was not a subtle hint, girl. That was a digital eviction.
She writes out of nowhere, and to me that's a pretty good flag, like things just don't appear out of nowhere.
I can't imagine what it took your friend to get to this point. Maybe she's shy or hates conflict. I'm actually guessing she has a ton of feelings all pent up about this situation. Or maybe she's been hinting and asking you when you can move out and move on, and you've been stringing her along. Babe, maybe it's time to take a really hard look in the mirror and ask yourself, do you think you ignored some really important feedback from your friend along the way because you weren't ready to move out? This isn't just about crashing too long. This is what it looks like when self-preservation turns into self-centeredness. You probably didn't mean to take advantage, but it kind of sounds like you did. And now you're looking for legal loopholes to stay after it's clear that you're not welcome?
You're not this person's child. Move out of your friend's place, move past your ex, and really figure out what you want to do because you are well past your expiration date on this one. And I can smell you from here.
I'm going to say, I'm glad you called me and shared, but you should probably never tell anyone again that you actually considered exploring tenants' rights at your friend's house. You are crazy. You're crazy. This is not a loophole. Girl, this is a villain origin story. This is an awful thing to do to a friend, and I'm actually a little bit worried about you that you considered this. Trying to use a legal technicality to force your friend to what? Board you forever? I imagine it's coming from that scared little hobbit that we all have inside of us that tells us to stay in the Shire because we can't do hard things. But you survived a shitty relationship. There's so much more world out there for you. And this stuff, this is beneath you. I know that's a lot to think about. So let's move on from reflect to repair. This episode is brought to you by Renewal by Andersen. As a brand ambassador, I gotta tell you, I love this company. The people who work here are genuinely wonderful. I get it. Buying windows and doors is not the most exciting home improvement project. But when you go with a high quality brand, you're getting expert level peace of mind. So if you need an upgrade, here's an offer. Buy one window or door and get one 40% off, plus an additional $200 off your entire purchase when you buy 4 or more. Special financing is available. Are you in? Give Renewal by Andersen a call at 844-290-2458 and tell them I sent you. I'm going to say not many of us can claim a friend in our lives who would let us stay for free for 6 months. I'm going to tell you right now, this is someone you want to do everything in your power to repair your relationship with. Girl, this is friend gold, and you let it tarnish. So let's get your shit together and see if you can make it shine again. First things first, you are going to grovel, baby, like it's hot yoga.
My advice, instead of looking up legal rights and whatnot, is to get with her roommate in person and start that conversation off on that tone with confession, apology, and seeking to mend that relationship.
You got to say the thing. You have to apologize. Apologize for missing her cues. Apologize for overstaying your welcome. Thank her for her generosity. And let her know that you're entering a bold new phase called moving out immediately. This bridge is probably burned, so you better get off of it as soon as you can. A real apology includes naming what happened. I overstayed. I didn't contribute. I brushed you off when you tried to tell me you were over it, and I left you in an awkward position. You got to avoid vague stuff like, sorry if I made you feel like you were mad. You know what I mean? Make it a real apology. And let her know you see the burden that she carried for you. The financial, the emotional, and even the social burden of supporting you through this. Tell her you respect her boundaries and you heard her wishes.
It doesn't sound like you were healing in a safe space. It sounds like you were taking advantage of someone's hospitality and goodwill. And then to turn around and try to figure out how you can find a loophole to stay. Girl, why? What would that solve for you? How safe would that space be for you if you were just a legal squatter?
I have a feeling this part is going to be the very hardest for you. In this apology, it's super important that you don't center yourself. It's not time for a TED Talk on why you were suffering. This isn't the moment to explain why you stayed so long or how hard everything has been for you. This is about your friend. If it were me, I would take this time to make an offer to rebalance the scales here. This could look like telling her that you'd like to offer to cover a few months of utility payments, or taking her out to a nice dinner. But if you are truly broke, you could offer your time. Do a full house clean for her, the whole thing. Weed the garden. Do some other chore that's been on her mind since 2019. Bonus points if it requires a ladder, gloves, or a hazmat suit. Trust me, the more annoying this task is, like picking up all the dog poop in the backyard or cleaning out the shed, the more you suffer, the better your friend is going to feel about this apology.
Yeah, there's a shocking lack of self-awareness based on the information they've left. All I see is it's been great for me. I haven't been paying any rent. I could have pitched in more. And now they're upset that they're being called on it.
And when you're done with that, tell her you care about this friendship. Give her something good like, I hope we can come back from this, but I understand if you're going to need some space for a bit. Let her process the excess you of it all. You were there a long time. Let her process on her own terms. If we're trying to fix this, an apology opens the door, but you still have to walk out of it. So next up is relaunch. Now it's time to get off her couch and off your butt. You said the words. Now you show her and yourself that you mean it.
Not having the stability of proper shelter or feeling like you're in your own space is very stressful. So I feel for you. Yeah, I think you've got to start doing some research about where else you can stay, because I'm not really sure the legality of tenant rights if you pay her money or whatever. I think you just don't want to be in that situation.
I would say we start by making a clear plan, not the vague vibes kind. Get serious with like, I've already scheduled 3 apartment viewings this week. Or put some dates in the calendar. Tell her the timeline. Tell her what you're doing next. If you don't have a new place lined up yet, you need to let her know that you'll be out anyway, because that's what's up. Your next place doesn't have to be a forever home, by the way. It just needs to be your next step. Could you house sit for a friend, or, hey, crash with a sibling who actually wants to see your face at breakfast? Find a sublet that gives you some breathing room while you get back on your feet. Google is your friend. Facebook groups are your friend. Literally anyone except this friend is your friend right now. Please don't hold out for the perfect solution. You're not going to find it. Your friend gave you 6 months of rest. Now it's time to give her her living room back and give yourself a fresh start. While you're at it, clean, pack, purge, vacuum like you're auditioning for a Dyson commercial, and leave that guest room better than you found it. This is your exit montage. If you're tempted to wallow, don't do it. This is the moment where you stop being the main character in your own pity party and start being the kind of person your friend would actually invite back for dinner one day. So shake it off, change the sheets, and start your next chapter. You got this. Orlando said he's been there before and you're not alone. Britt says, it sounds like you were taking advantage of someone's hospitality and goodwill. And Jay said, get with your roommate in person to start a conversation, a confession, and an apology. I hope you'll be open to some of the feedback here. I know sometimes it can be hard to hear. Listen, if you do nothing else, it's time for you to make a plan to move on. Your girlfriend spoke, and it's time to get out. Thank you to this week's Patch Crew, Orlando, Brent, Britt, and so many more. If you want to share some advice with our caller or contribute to next week's patch job, head over to our Instagram, True Home Confessions, and look for this week's new post. See you soon.